Our topic is pro-gun versus anti-gun, and our first prompt is, I fired a gun.
So it's not something I've done regularly, but I have done it.
So I tried it, I didn't love it, but try everything once, I guess.
So when we were in the Middle East, we would hunt, use guns in general.
Yeah. Well, my whole life is guns. I own over 300-400 guns, you know what I mean?
So I would say, just this last year, it was reported that among child-related deaths in America, gun violence was one of the main factors.
But it's accurate because death in children is exceedingly rare.
But are you saying there's an issue where black people don't have access to guns?
Yeah,
Like
or
they
like
need more
legally.
guns. Like black people need more.
Being racist about who gets the gun. That's what we involve.
They get involved with gangs.
Our topic is pro-gun versus anti-gun, and our first prompt is, I fired a gun. If that's true for you, please step forward.
So my family does hunt. That's a part of our culture. And when I was younger, my dad, I've gone with him. I've never killed an animal, but I have gone with him for like tracking purposes or, being outside, connecting with nature. And he did teach me how when I was younger. So it's not something I've done regularly, but I have done it.
Same here. I've got like family friends that are very into guns, and one summer they wanted me to have the experience of like shooting a gun. So I tried it. I didn't love it, but try everything once, I guess.
Why didn't you love it?
I just didn't like the feeling. It was really heavy. I was very young, and I don't know. It just wasn't for me, I guess.
I spent a lot of time in the Middle East growing up, so when we were in the Middle East, we would hunt, use guns in general, and when I would come to America, my family has had guns, I even have guns, and so I've shot multiple times.
Well, I've shot a gun, I loved it, and my whole family loves guns, so I think that's kind of how the culture was instilled on me.
Yeah. Well, my whole life is guns. I own over 300-400 guns, you know what I mean? So I shoot them all the time, every day. And I'm also a United States Marine Corps war veteran. I've been to war, so I shot a lot of guns in my life.
Thank you. I grew up around guns. My father was military and police. My older brother was military and police. My little brother is military. And I was taught to fire weapons at a very early age because my father believed that if you remove the curiosity from a child about the gun and they're uncomfortable with it, they won't be interested. It created gun safety in our home. I did not like firing a gun when I was young, and I fire guns now regularly as an adult.
I was the same. I grew up in Alabama, but my family didn't hunt, weren't military. My dad's a pastor, but they just believed in them for self-defense. And so they were always around the house. We were also instructed very young with firearm safety. And then if my brothers especially wanted to shoot growing up, then my dad would take them and practice with them. I mostly didn't want to because I also have never loved the feeling of shooting a gun. Even now, I have a gun. I'm a registered concealed carry permit owner, but I don't love the feeling, to be honest. And you're right, it differs based on the gun.
Mm-hmm. Can't believe you never shot a gun. Why you never shot a gun?
So growing up, my family, we didn't really have a lot of guns around the house. And my cousins or my relatives didn't really have guns, or it wasn't like an outing.
It wasn't a thing. It wasn't
an outing,
yeah.
and I found a pellet gun. That's the only thing that my father had growing up, was a pellet gun that he hid in his closet away. And it was one day where me and my sister were playing around, and I found it, and I actually, pointed it towards my sister. So it was a very traumatic experience for myself.
Where did you grow up? Because
I grew up in New York, Brooklyn, New York.
Was it dangerous?
Yes.
So you don't think you need something to protect yourself?
Well, not particularly in Brooklyn, New York, because there were already a mass surveillance of police who had guns, right?
We're gonna reset. Next prompt. I'd let my children be around guns. Will the agreeers please step forward? Rambo, you said you had 300 guns?
Yeah, I got about 300 guns, yeah. And my kids are around them all the time, all day.
You don't worry about them?
Well, first of all, I don't leave them loaded. To operate a gun, you can't just grab it and squeeze it. You know what I mean? I have a gun under the table somewhere, you know, in a magnet. They're all over the house. I can't lie, you know. But I'm from Louisiana, man. It's a
cultural
It's a
thing.
culture.
If I had children, I would teach them in a proper way. I think it's harder specifically because I was born and raised in California. Is it hard in California? Absolutely. Especially because the right to bear and conceal arms is definitely harder to obtain.
So I would say, you know, just this last year, it was reported that among child-related deaths in America, gun violence was one of the main factors. That's alarming, right? Even before I knew that statistic, if I ever had kids, and I am planning on having kids, I would not allow my children to be around firearms.
Where did you get your statistics from? Because sometimes I look on the internet, it say one thing, then it say another thing,
Right.
and so you might be looking at something that might not even be right.
But it's accurate because death in children is exceedingly rare. There's very few things that kill them, period.
And I do think that we have some issues with parents not taking authority in their home and not being able to recognize your child has an issue. If your child has an issue, you are vigilant in your home to make sure that those guns are secure and safe. If my husband went off the rocker, I'd take his guns from him.
But are you saying there's an issue where black people don't have access to guns?
Yeah,
Like
or
they
like
need more
legally.
guns. Like black people need
No,
more
I
guns.
think
But I
legally-
feel like I'm hearing two contradictory things because I'm hearing black communities have a gun
I think-
issue because they have too many
And
firearms.
you're saying
Black
they don't have
communities
enough.
have a gang issue. They have a violence issue. They have a poverty issue. These are things that lead to criminality.
Violence isn't an issue in those communities.
What is the issue with every community? It's gangs.
Mindset of
in
more guns would
those
help.
black communities.
Well,
and
I can't say more guns will help. I think more control with like gangs and stuff. It's not like regular people just running around, just shooting them up, killing
But
people.
where do the gangs get their guns?
Right.
Guess what? From anywhere.
We do know that in about 40% of homicides, they were obtained illegally. So when you guys were saying about guns getting stolen off cars, I had a gun stolen in my car.
If you live somewhere, you couldn't eat, you couldn't feed nobody. You got guns all the way around your house, everything. You wouldn't get a gun to protect yourself.
Say the law shouldn't apply to people like
No,
you.
I'm saying you guys are talking about banning guns. All of a sudden we went straight to like we are anti-gun and we are pro-gun to like let's ban guns. Why are you so eager to take away the freedom of people who use weapons properly for the sake of people who are going to go and use?
Mass shootings are both a mental health and gun control issue. Will the agreeers please step forward?
I believe that they are a mental health issue, above all else. But when I hear you say gun control, I don't mean governmentally. I mean exactly what we talked about earlier, which is parents being more aware, parents not recognizing that there is a mental health issue, that there is a medication issue, that there is an emotional issue, distress in the home, and taking measures to protect their child. Most of the time, apparently, these children somehow have access to guns. And I think that if they were disturbed enough, we've heard stories in the 90s and 80s about kids bringing knives to school.
You know, mental illness is completely promoted as propaganda in the media, right? So when you look at the rate for mental health issues in comparison to the amount of mass shootings related to that, it has nothing to do with a mental illness. It has to do more so with mental disorders. Because these people, they're not relying on medication to consciously know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, they're just lacking empathy.